small world that learned to survive. By the year asterisk 2155 asterisk, Mars was not a fantasy anymore. It was not a dream. It was not a flag planted in red dust. Mars was a asterisk asterisk working world asterisk. Not big like Earth. Not rich like the moon. But stable. Mars had sealed cities under domes, underground habitat networks, algae farms, water extraction stations, robotics mines, fusion-powered reactors, universities and research labs, medical bays built for low gravity. The people of Mars were not tourists. They were engineers, farmers, scientists, builders, pilots, medics, teachers, children. Yes, children. By 2155, the first generation born on Mars had grown into adults. And this changed everything. Because those people did not feel like visitors. They did not feel like colonists. They did not feel like Earth citizens. They felt like Martians. #2, the real reason Mars wanted freedom. It was not pride, it was survival. Earth historians later argued endlessly about why Mars wanted independence. Some said it was ideology. Some said it was greed. Some said it was rebellion. But the Martians themselves gave a simpler answer. Earth was too far away. When you live in a fragile habitat, you cannot wait months for political permission. You cannot wait for Earth courts. You cannot wait for Earth laws. Mars needed to make decisions fast. And Earth's bureaucracy was slow. The most dangerous words on Mars were, "We are waiting for approval." Because on Mars, waiting can kill you. #3, the Earth-Moon-Mars triangle. #3 worlds, 3 interests. By 2155, power was split between 3 major centers. #globe showing Europe, Africa, Earth. Population still huge. Megacities controlled most wealth. Climate stabilized but fragile. Politics chaotic but advanced. Depended on space resources. #full moon the moon. Rich and strategic. Controlled helium-3 and fuel routes. Semi-independent. A hardened society of workers plus security fleets. Culturally different from Earth. #Mars. Small population. Fragile but proud. Technologically advanced. Increasingly self-sufficient. Emotionally united. Mars was the weakest of the 3 in military terms. But it had something Earth could not fully understand. Mars had unity. Earth was divided. The moon was divided. Mars was one. #4 the spark, the oxygen tax. The law that started a planetary crisis. In early 2155, Earth's Atlantic Consortium passed a policy. It was officially called the Extraterrestrial Life Support Contribution Act. Martians called it something else. The oxygen tax. It meant Mars would pay higher fees for life support tech. Mars would pay for security protection in transit. Mars would lose control of some shipping schedules. Mars would be forced to accept Earth inspectors. Earth argued it was necessary. Earth said, Mars benefits from Earth's protection and infrastructure. Mars replied, we built this with our blood and our lungs. Mars refused. Earth insisted. And then Earth did the one thing that guaranteed rebellion. They threatened to restrict supply shipments. #5, the shipment blockade. #a war without guns. Mars was more self-sufficient than ever. But not fully. There were still things Mars needed. Specialized medicines, advanced microchips, rare metals, biological cultures, replacement parts, some luxury goods, data updates for certain systems. Earth controlled many of those supply chains. So Earth used the oldest weapon in history, * blockade. They slowed shipments. They delayed cargo. They demanded compliance. Mars did not fire missiles. Mars did not send fleets. Mars simply announced, if Earth treats us as a dependent colony, we will act like a nation. That announcement was the beginning of the crisis. #6, the Martian Council. # the day Mars spoke as one. Mars had a governing body known as the Martian Habitat Council. At first, it was only a management organization. It handled safety regulations, habitat planning, resource distribution, emergency protocols. But by 2155, it had become something more. It became the closest thing Mars had to a government. When the blockade began, the council called an emergency session. Millions watched on Mars, not on screens in cafes. Mars had no cafes like Earth. People watched from workstations, dormitories, farm domes, oxygen plant control rooms, medical bays. The council leader, *Camira Solano **, gave a speech that later became legendary. She said, we do not ask for charity. We do not ask for rescue. We ask for recognition. Mars is not a project. Mars is a people. And no people should pay rent for the air they breathe. When she finished, Mars was silent. Then Mars erupted. Not in riots. In agreement. #7, the Earth response. # a planet that could not accept losing control. Earth's leaders reacted with anger. Because to Earth, Mars' independence was not just politics. It was precedent. If Mars could break away, other space regions could too. Asteroid colonies, orbital stations, even parts of the moon. Earth feared losing the solar system. Not emotionally, economically, strategically. So Earth responded with a declaration. Mars has no legal authority to govern itself outside the Earth Charter. The Martians laughed bitterly. Because Earth charters meant nothing when you were dying from a cracked pipe. #8, the first Martian sabotage. #the Red Signal incident. The first act of war happened in space. A cargo ship approaching Mars suddenly lost navigation signal. It drifted. It almost missed its landing corridor. It nearly collided with a habitat station. At the last moment, it stabilized. Earth blamed Mars. Mars blamed Earth. The truth was later discovered. A group of radical Martians had hacked the ship's guidance. Not to destroy it, to send a message. The message was broadcast openly. No ship enters Mars without Mars' permission. This was a declaration of sovereignty. And it was dangerous, because it forced Earth to respond. #9, the quiet weapon, orbit control. Who controls the sky, controls the world asterisk. Mars had something important. Mars had its own orbital network. Not as large as Earth's, but enough. Orbital defense drones. Navigation relays. Radar and tracking arrays. Communication satellites. Mars began to enforce a rule. Mars' orbit is Martian territory. Earth refused to accept this. Earth sent ships anyway. And so began the first interplanetary standoff. Ships approached Mars' orbit. Martian drones surrounded them. No firing. Just pressure. Just waiting. #10, the human side. The pilot named Yi. A man trapped between worlds. One of the most famous accounts came from a cargo pilot named Yi Nakamoto. He was born on Earth. He worked for the Lunar Authority. He had made supply runs between Earth, Moon, and Mars for decades. He was not political. He was a worker. When the crisis began, he found himself trapped. Earth demanded he deliver supplies under Earth authority. Mars demanded he request permission from Mars. If he chose wrong, he could be arrested. Or worse. His ship log later revealed his fear. Space is too big for politics. But politics follows you everywhere. The stars don't care who owns them. But humans do. #11, the Lunar Authority steps in. The moon's old lesson. Neutrality is power. The moon remembered the first space war. The moon had learned. If Earth fights, profit rises. The Lunar Authority offered mediation. But not for peace. For leverage. They proposed moon run arbitration, neutral supply lanes, shared customs rules, fuel discounts for compliance. Mars did not trust the moon because the moon had become a business empire. Earth did not trust the moon because the moon had become too independent. But both needed the moon because the moon controlled fuel depots. This meant the moon held the key to interplanetary logistics. And so the moon became the war's silent puppet master. #12, the Red Winter. Mars faces its hardest season. The blockade lasted longer than expected. Mars rationed. Less energy. Less comfort heating. Strict food distribution. Medicine priority systems. It was not famine, but it was suffering. The Martians called this period the Red Winter. People became thin. People became quiet. But they did not break. Because hardship on Mars had always existed. Mars people were trained by life itself. Earth expected Mars to beg. Mars did not. Mars adapted. #13, the first shots. The drone clash of Ares corridor. The first real violence happened in orbit. A corridor near Mars, used for cargo approach, became crowded. Earth sent escort drones. Mars deployed defense drones. A small collision happened. Then another. Then a drone fired. The first projectile fired in the Mars independence crisis was not a missile. It was a small kinetic dart. It punctured a drone. Fragments spread. 2 drones were destroyed. No humans died. But the symbolism was enormous. The news spread instantly. Earth citizens panicked. Mars citizens cheered. The war had begun. #14, the Earth debate. Do we invade Mars? Earth's leaders argued. Some wanted invasion. Some wanted negotiation. But invasion was almost impossible. Mars is far. Mars is harsh. Mars is a fortress. To invade Mars, you would need fleets, fuel, months of travel, secure landing zones, supply lines, habitat takeover without destroying life support. And if you destroy life support, you commit genocide. Earth could not afford that morally or politically. So Earth chose the only weapon available. Economic strangulation. But Mars had one secret. Mars had prepared for this. #15, the Martian secret, the deep vaults. The day Mars revealed it was ready *. During the Red Winter, Mars opened hidden storage facilities. Underground vaults. Years of stockpiled. Medicine. Spare parts. Seed banks. Microchip reserves. Emergency oxygen canisters. Mars had prepared quietly for independence for decades. Earth realized it too late. Mars did not need Earth as much as Earth believed. And this was the turning point. #16, the Mars broadcast. The declaration heard across space *. In late 2155, Mars issued a broadcast. It was simple. It was not angry. It was calm. It said, Mars declares itself a sovereign planet. Mars will negotiate as an equal. Mars will no longer accept colonial law. We do not seek war, but we will not live on our knees. This was the official declaration of independence. And now Earth had to decide. Accept it or fight. #17, the Earth reaction, the Pride crisis. Hash a planet that could not admit it was losing. Earth did not accept it immediately. Earth demanded Mars reverse the declaration. Earth threatened sanctions. Earth threatened a permanent blockade. But behind the scenes, Earth's megacities were tired. Earth had already survived climate crises, AI crises, economic collapses, space wars. People wanted stability, not another long struggle. Earth citizens asked, "Why are we fighting Mars? What did Mars do to us?" Earth leaders struggled, because leaders do not like to admit. They lost control. Hash 18, the peace that was not peace. Hash the Treaty of Phobos Station. In 2156, a meeting took place at Phobos Station ***, Mars's small orbital facility. Earth diplomats arrived. Moon representatives arrived. Mars leaders arrived. The negotiations lasted weeks. The result was the Treaty of Phobos Station. Mars gained autonomy, legal sovereignty, orbit control rights, trade independence. Earth gained resource trade guarantees, safe shipping corridors, shared research agreements. The Moon gained profit, fuel contracts, logistical control. Mars' independence was recognized, but not fully. Earth wrote the treaty carefully. It used phrases like self-governing entity instead of nation, but everyone knew what it meant. Mars had won. Hash 19, the real victory. Hash Mars won without conquering anyone. Mars did not defeat Earth in battle. Mars did not conquer the Moon. Mars won by doing something harder. Enduring. Mars endured the blockade. Mars endured isolation. Mars endured fear. Mars proved it could survive alone. And once you prove that, independence is inevitable. Hash 20, the legacy. Hash the solar system changes forever. After Mars' independence, everything changed. Because it was the first proof that humans could split politically across planets. A new age began. Not an Earth empire age. A solar civilization age. The Martians began building stronger habitats, defense networks, new cities, asteroid trade routes. Earth began to adjust. The Moon became even more powerful. And Mars became a symbol. The symbol that said, distance creates identity. Hash 21, the final scene. Yi's last landing. Hash a small human moment. Years later, cargo pilot Yi Nakamoto landed on Mars again. This time, he did not receive Earth orders. He received Martian customs clearance. A Martian officer stamped his entry. The stamp read, Mars, sovereign entry. Yi looked at it for a long time. Then he laughed softly. He said, "Well, I guess history finally arrived." Hash 1, the strange truth about the future. The future never arrives like people expect. It doesn't appear with trumpets. It doesn't arrive clean. It doesn't arrive on a specific date like a movie. It comes the same way history always comes. Quietly, through normal days, through small decisions, through people who think they are just living life. And then later, centuries later, historians look back and say, that was the turning point. The future is like that. It hides inside ordinary moments. #2. The next great empires won't look like empires. When people hear empire, they imagine Rome, Britain, Mongols, Ottomans, Persia. They imagine flags, armies, kings. But future empires will look different. They will not always conquer land. They will conquer attention. They will conquer data. They will conquer energy. They will conquer supply chains. They will conquer technology standards. They will conquer the mind. A future empire might not be a country at all. It could be a megacorporation, a network of cities, a technological alliance, a digital platform, an AI-powered system. The next Caesars may not wear crowns. They may wear suits or hoodies, or they may not be human. #3. The first big battle, truth versus noise. One of the earliest signs of a future shift is already happening. The war over truth. In the past, rulers controlled people by controlling information. But information was slow. A king could ban a book. A church could silence a preacher. A state could block a newspaper. Today, information is everywhere. And that creates a new problem. The problem is not silence. The problem is noise. When people drown in misinformation, they become confused. When they become confused, they become easier to control. In the future, many wars will not be fought over land. They will be fought over what people believe, what people fear, what people trust. And the most powerful weapon will not be a sword. It will be persuasion. #4. The second big battle, water, heat, and survival. Every major civilization in history depended on water, food, stable climate. When those things become unstable, societies crack. The future will face the same test. Heat waves will grow stronger. Droughts will expand. Coastal cities will struggle with rising seas. Some regions will become harder to live in. This will create migration, border tension, resource conflict. Not because people are evil, but because hungry people don't negotiate politely. They panic, and panic creates violence. The future may see new wars, not for gold, but for water. #5. The third big battle, the age of human enhancement. For thousands of years, human beings stayed biologically the same. Yes, we built tools. Yes, we created machines. But our bodies were still the same. Now we are approaching a new era. The era of enhancement. In the future, we may see gene editing, artificial organs, brain-computer interfaces, advanced prosthetics, memory enhancement, anti-aging treatments. This will create a new kind of inequality, not just rich versus poor, but enhanced versus unenhanced. And that difference could become as important as race, nationality, or religion once were. A society divided biologically is a society in danger. #6 AI, the tool that might become a partner or a master. AI will be the biggest force of the future, not because it is evil, but because it is useful. Every empire in history grew because it used the best tools. Bronze weapons, iron weapons, gunpowder, ships, factories, computers. Now AI. AI will reshape education, medicine, warfare, government, business, entertainment, religion, yes, even religion. In the future, people may ask AI for advice the way people once asked priests. And whoever controls AI will control power. But the deeper question is, what happens when AI begins to shape human decisions more than humans do? That's not science fiction. That is already beginning. #7, the new nations. Cities will become superpowers. In the ancient world, the most powerful units were cities, then kingdoms, then empires, then nation-states. But the future may return to the city, because cities produce money, culture, technology, influence. In the future, megacities may become more powerful than countries. A city like Tokyo, New York, Shanghai, Dubai, Riyadh, London, Mumbai could become a city-state in practice. Not officially, but functionally. They may control trade, finance, and technology, while rural areas decline. This could create political tension inside nations. A future civil war might not be North versus South. It might be *city versus countryside. #8 space, the next frontier of greed and glory. People think space exploration is about science. It is. But history shows something else. Exploration is always also about resources, dominance, prestige, survival. The future will see permanent bases on the moon, on Mars, in orbit. At first, these bases will be symbolic. Then they will become economic. Mining asteroids for rare metals, building solar power stations, manufacturing in space. Eventually, space will become political, and then military. The first space wars will not be like Star Wars. They will be quiet. Satellites destroyed. Communication disrupted. GPS disabled. Economic systems paralyzed. The future battlefield might be above Earth. Invisible, but devastating. #9 The return of plagues, but different. The Black Death reshaped Europe. Smallpox reshaped the Americas. Disease has always shaped history. In the future, medicine is stronger. But new dangers exist. Global travel spreads disease fast. Antibiotic resistance grows. Lab accidents are possible. Bioengineering can be misused. The future may face pandemics again. Not necessarily more deadly, but more frequent. And the bigger danger may be social collapse, not just illness. Because pandemics do one thing extremely well. They destroy trust. And when trust dies, societies weaken. #10 The Fourth Great Revolution, energy. History is powered by energy. Fire, agriculture, coal, oil, electricity. The future will be shaped by the next energy revolution. Possibilities include solar dominance, advanced batteries, fusion energy, hydrogen economies, geothermal megaprojects. If fusion becomes real and cheap, it will change everything. Because energy is the foundation of wealth, military power, industry, technology, survival. A civilization with abundant clean energy becomes unstoppable. And a civilization without it becomes dependent. #11 The future of war. Less blood, more collapse. War will not disappear, but it will change form. Future wars may involve cyber attacks, drone swarms, AI-controlled defense systems, economic sabotage, information warfare, supply chain disruption. Instead of armies marching, a future war might look like power grid fails, banks freeze, internet collapses, hospitals shut down, transportation stops. People will not see soldiers, but they will feel the collapse. And this kind of war is terrifying because it can happen suddenly. #12 The future of religion. New faiths will rise. Many people assume religion will fade. But history suggests something else. Whenever people feel fear, uncertainty, loss, meaninglessness, religion grows. The future may create new forms of religion. Some might be traditional. Some might be digital. Some might worship nature. Some might worship AI. Some might be cult-like. The future could see belief systems that feel strange to us today. Just like ancient Egyptian religion feels strange now. #13 The next great migration. Human history is the history of movement. People migrate for food, safety, Opportunity. Climate. In the future, climate pressure will create migration. Some countries will resist. Walls will rise. Borders will harden. But migration is like water. It finds cracks. It flows. And if it cannot flow peacefully, it flows violently. This is one of the future's biggest risks. #14, the collapse pattern, how civilizations usually die. Civilizations usually die the same way. Not with one dramatic event, but with 1. Economic inequality, 2. Political corruption, 3. Loss of trust, 4. Resource stress, 5. External pressure, 6. Internal division, 7. Cultural exhaustion, and then a spark, a crisis, a war, a famine, a disaster, and suddenly the system breaks. The future will not be immune. The modern world is powerful, but also fragile, because it depends on complex systems, and complex systems break in surprising ways. #15, the possible bright future, a new golden age. But history is not only collapse. History also produces miracles. The future could become a golden age. Imagine clean energy everywhere, poverty reduced, advanced medicine, cures for major diseases, global education, safe AI, space industry, climate stabilization. This is not fantasy. It is possible. Human beings have achieved unbelievable things before. If someone in 1000 BCE saw a smartphone, they would call it magic. If someone in 1400 saw an airplane, they would call it divine. The future could look like that. #16, the great question. Will humanity unite? Every major crisis pushes humanity toward one of two directions. 1. Unity. 2. Division. If we unite, we become stronger than any empire in history. If we divide, we repeat the cycle. War right arrow, collapse, rebuilding right arrow, war again. The future may decide whether humanity becomes a planetary civilization or remains a collection of competing tribes. #17, the most important future battle, the battle inside humans. The deepest battle is not technology, not politics, not climate, not space. It is inside human hearts. Because every civilization has the same weakness. Human nature, greed, fear, pride, hatred, but also love, curiosity, courage, hope. History is the story of both. The future will be the same. #18, the far future, the post-human era. If humanity survives long enough, we may change so much that we are no longer human in the old sense. We might merge with machines. We might live much longer. We might upload parts of memory. We might become a multi-planet species. At that point, the word empire may no longer mean land. It may mean control of star systems, control of resources in space, control of AI networks. A future historian might write, Earth was only the beginning. #19, the final ending. The future is still a story being written. And that is the truth. The future is not written. Not yet. It is a blank tablet, a blank scroll, a blank page. But history teaches one lesson clearly. The future will be made by ordinary people. Not only kings, not only presidents, not only billionaires, not only generals, but farmers, workers, teachers, engineers, artists, and yes, the First Space War, 2110, written like a real history novel asterisk. A future war story told like historians later wrote it, detailed, realistic, and emotional. #1, the war nobody saw coming. When people in the early 2000s imagined space war, they imagined lasers. They imagined explosions. They imagined starships. They imagined bright battles in the black sky. They were wrong. The first space war was not loud. It was quiet. It began with a spreadsheet, a contract, a shipment schedule, a mining license, a denied permission, a diplomatic message that ended with polite words and hidden anger. And then, one day, satellites began to die. Not all at once, not dramatically, but one by one, as if the sky itself was blinking. #2, the world before the war. By 2110, Earth had changed. It was still beautiful, still alive, but it was different. The climate was not fully healed, but it was stabilized enough for civilization to continue. Megacities dominated the planet. Nations still existed, but power was shared between national governments, city alliances, corporate blocs, energy consortiums, AI governance networks. Space was no longer a dream. It was an industry. The moon had mining operations. Orbital stations produced specialized materials. Asteroid prospecting had begun. Mars had small permanent settlements. Space had become normal. And because it became normal, it became political. And because it became political, it became dangerous. #3, the three powers. Historians often simplify the first space war into three major blocks. In reality, the world was more complicated. But the war's structure can be understood through three dominant forces. #1, the Atlantic Consortium, a network of powerful economic and military alliances based around old Western power centers. They controlled much of financial infrastructure, older satellite networks, Earth-to-orbit launch systems, #2, the Eurasian Sphere, a huge block stretching across Asia, with advanced manufacturing and massive populations. They controlled much of industrial supply chains, robotics manufacturing, deep space propulsion tech. **3, the Lunar Authority. This was the newest and strangest power. It was not a nation. It was not a corporation. It was a coalition of moon-based industries, station operators, and security forces. They controlled lunar fuel depots, helium-3 mining, orbital refueling routes. The Lunar Authority was rich. And more importantly, they controlled the space gas stations. *4 the spark, the helium-3 dispute. Helium-3 was the gold of the 22nd century. Not because it was pretty, not because it was rare on Earth, but because it could be used for advanced fusion systems. Fusion nations depended on stable supply. Helium-3 mining on the moon became one of the most valuable industries in history. A single shipment could power entire regions. And in 2109, a major mining zone was claimed twice. 2 licenses were issued. 2 corporate blocks arrived. 2 security fleets were deployed. It was supposed to be solved in court. It was supposed to be solved by arbitration. But it was not. Because in the background, political leaders were already angry. And anger, once built, does not need much to explode. *5 the first attack, the night the sky went dark. The first official event of the war happened on Earth. Not on the moon. Not in orbit. On Earth. It was called later. The night the sky went dark. It began with a single satellite. A communications satellite used by the Atlantic Consortium. It stopped responding. At first, engineers thought it was a malfunction. Then a second satellite failed. Then a third. Then weather satellites went offline. Then navigation satellites. GPS systems began to fail. Shipping routes became confused. Planes were grounded. Emergency systems struggled. People were not killed by explosions. They were killed by confusion. Hospitals lost synchronization. Automated transport systems shut down. Stock markets froze. And then, for the first time in modern history, many people looked up at the sky and realized space was not a peaceful place anymore. *6 the invisible weapon, orbital sabotage. No one used nuclear weapons. No one used massive missiles. Because destroying orbit is like poisoning your own water. But sabotage was cheap. Sabotage was deniable. The first space war used weapons that were hard to prove. Microdrones, kinetic dust strikes, hacked guidance systems, signal jamming, orbit nudges, small impacts that looked like accidents. This was why the war was so terrifying. Because no one could say, this was an attack. They could only say, something is happening. And in war, uncertainty is a weapon. #7, the first lunar standoff. By early 2110, tension reached the moon. The disputed mining zone was surrounded by drones. Security rovers stood still, facing each other. On the moon, nothing happens quickly. Movement is slow. Dust is everywhere. A single mistake can kill. The miners were not soldiers. They were engineers, workers, technicians. But now they were trapped between power blocks, inside sealed habitats, breathing recycled air, waiting. The moon had become a hostage. #8, the human side, the technician named Lion. Every war has generals. Every war has leaders. But history is made by ordinary people. One of the most famous personal accounts from the first space war came from a lunar technician named Lion Hao. She worked in a helium-3 extraction facility. Her diary survived. It was later published. She wrote, "We are not afraid of bullets. There are no bullets here. We are afraid of silence. Silence means the air system failed. Silence means someone cut the power. Silence means we die quietly." Her words became famous because they revealed something new. In space, war is not about blood. It is about oxygen. #9, the second front, the orbital stations. Orbit was the heart of the war. Orbital stations controlled manufacturing, refueling, communication relays, space traffic control. The first major battle in orbit was called later the Station Drift Crisis. A station belonging to the Eurasian sphere suddenly changed orbit. It began drifting. At first, it looked like a technical failure. Then engineers discovered its orbit had been nudged deliberately. If the station collided with another, debris could spread. Debris in orbit is deadly. It creates a chain reaction called Kessler syndrome. If too much debris fills orbit, space travel becomes impossible for decades. The station's crew panicked. They fired emergency thrusters. They stabilized it. But the message was clear. Someone was willing to risk destroying orbit. And that was terrifying. Because orbit was not just military. Orbit was civilization. #10 Earth reacts, the cities panic. Megacities on Earth began to panic. Because space infrastructure was tied to daily life. Weather forecasting, communication, trade, navigation, finance. When satellites failed, cities felt it like a heart attack. In coastal cities, storm prediction weakened. Flood disasters increased. In desert cities, water systems failed. Food shipments were delayed. The rich moved into protected zones. The poor suffered most. And social unrest grew. The first space war began to create chaos on Earth without a single soldier landing. #11, the diplomatic collapse. In mid-2110, diplomats met. They tried to stop the war. But the problem was, no one trusted anyone. Every side claimed, "We did not attack." Every side believed, "They are lying." And the Lunar Authority, the third power, had its own agenda. The moon wanted independence. The moon wanted control over its resources. The moon was tired of Earth's politics. So while Earth powers argued, the Lunar Authority quietly strengthened. They expanded their security fleets. They recruited more workers. They built more habitats. They prepared for a future where the moon was no longer a colony. #12, the first casualties, the Oxygen Massacre. The first major deaths of the war did not come from gunfire. They came from oxygen failure. A small lunar outpost lost power. Its solar arrays were damaged. Its backup system failed. 12 people died. Not instantly. Slowly. They recorded messages to families. They wrote last words. They apologized. They prayed. The event became known as the Oxygen Massacre. Later investigations suggested sabotage, but no one could prove it. The deaths changed everything, because until then, the war had felt abstract. Now it was personal. #13, the war spreads. Mars becomes nervous. Mars settlements watched the moon war carefully. Mars was still fragile. A small colony cannot survive a war. Mars leaders began to stockpile supplies. They created their own emergency systems. They reduced dependency on Earth shipments. This was the first step toward a future Mars independence movement. In war, even distant places change. #14, the Battle of the Silent Corridor. The most famous battle of the war happened in orbit. It was called the Battle of the Silent Corridor. The Silent Corridor was an orbital lane used for fuel shipments from the moon. Whoever controlled it controlled Helium-3. A Eurasian sphere convoy entered the corridor. Atlantic Consortium drones shadowed them. No one fired. For hours they drifted. 2 fleets. 2 groups of machines. AI-controlled defense systems waiting for permission. Humans on Earth watch screens, holding their breath. Then it happened. A single drone moved too close. A collision occurred. Not an explosion, just impact. But impact in orbit is deadly. Fragments spread. The corridor became dangerous. Ships had to reroute. Fuel shipments slowed. Fusion power stations on Earth began to ration energy. Cities dimmed lights. Factories slowed. The world realized space war was not science fiction. It was economics. It was survival. #15, the Lunar Declaration. In late 2110, the Lunar Authority made its move. They declared the moon would no longer accept Earth-issued licenses. All mining would be regulated by lunar law. This was revolutionary. It was like America declaring independence from Britain. But unlike America, the moon could not be invaded easily. Space is a natural fortress. Earth powers threatened retaliation, but retaliation risked destroying orbit. And destroying orbit would destroy everyone. So the Lunar Authority had leverage. They had what every rebel needs: a position the Empire cannot easily crush. #16, the Endgame, the Treaty of Low Orbit. The war ended not with victory, but with exhaustion. By 2111, Earth's economy was strained. Cities were unstable. Orbital debris risk increased. No side wanted Kessler syndrome, because if orbit died, everyone lost. So diplomats met again. This time, the fear was stronger than pride. They signed the Treaty of Low Orbit. It established neutral orbital lanes, restrictions on kinetic weapons in orbit, satellite protection zones, lunar resource arbitration, independent lunar governance. The moon gained semi-independence. Earth powers kept access. The war ended, but the world was not the same. #17, the war's legacy. The new era begins. Historians later said the first space war was important for 3 reasons. #*1, it proved space is political. Space was no longer a frontier. It was a battlefield. #*2, it created the lunar nation. The moon became its own power. Not fully independent, but unstoppable. #*3, it changed warfare forever. Wars could now collapse civilization without armies. A few drones could shut down cities. A few hacks could freeze economies. The battlefield had shifted from land to systems. #18, the last scene. Lion's final entry. Lionhouse survived. Her last diary entry after the treaty was signed became famous. She wrote, "They say peace is here, but I don't feel peace. I feel a new world. A world where Earth is not the center. A world where the moon has a voice. When I look at Earth now, it looks small. Beautiful, but small. And I wonder if this is how the first sailors felt when they left the old world behind. And that is how Part 6 ends. Not with a battle, but with a feeling, a quiet realization that history had turned another page. A full future timeline. 2025 right arrow 2200, written like a real history book. This is speculative but built from real historical patterns. Power shifts, technology, climate, wars, economics, and human behavior. #globe showing Europe-Africa Era 1, the late digital age, 2025-2035. The decade of confusion. #2025-2027, the loud world. These years are remembered as the period when the world was extremely connected, but deeply divided. AI tools became common for writing, art, business, and entertainment. Governments struggled to regulate AI fast enough. Misinformation became a daily crisis. Many people stopped trusting news, institutions, and even each other. Historians later called this the noise crisis. The biggest change was not political. It was psychological. People were exhausted. The world was always online. And the human brain was not built for constant digital war. *2028-2030, the Great Automation Shock. During these years, many jobs began to shift rapidly. Not all jobs disappeared, but the structure of work changed. Office work was automated heavily. Customer service became AI-driven. Design, marketing, translation, and coding changed dramatically. Many people had to reskill. This created a new social tension. The educated adapted. The unprepared suffered. In many countries, new welfare programs were debated. Some nations experimented with universal basic income, UBI, in limited forms. *2030-2035, the first AI treaties. Just like nuclear weapons created treaties, AI created treaties too. The first international agreements on AI focused on military use restrictions, deepfake controls, AI-generated fraud prevention, cyberwar boundaries. But enforcement was weak because powerful nations didn't want limits, and corporations didn't want restrictions. #thermometer era 2, the climate pressure years, 2035-2050. #the age of heat and migration. *2036-2040, the first Great Water Conflicts. In multiple regions, water became a political weapon. Not always full war, but tensions grew. Countries argued over rivers. Farmers fought governments over irrigation rights. Cities began rationing water during extreme heat. Historians later noted, this was the moment when climate stopped being environment news and became national security. *2040-2045, the migration wave. Millions moved. Some moved legally. Some moved illegally. Some fled disaster zones. Some fled economic collapse. Borders tightened. Nationalism rose in many countries. But also, new alliances formed. Cities needed workers. Aging populations needed labor. Migration became both a crisis and a solution. *2046-2050, the insurance collapse. One of the most surprising historical events was not a war. It was financial. Insurance companies in some regions stopped covering. Coastal homes, wildfire zones, flood-prone cities. This changed real estate markets. People lost wealth. Governments stepped in. New climate banks and public insurance programs were created. This era marked the start of the climate economy. #robot face era 3, the AI governance era, 2050-2070. #the age of machine bureaucracy. Hash asterisk 2051, 2055. Governments become semi-automated asterisk. Many governments began using AI systems for tax systems, healthcare scheduling, court backlog reduction, traffic and city planning, welfare distribution. This improved efficiency, but it created a new fear. Who controls the algorithm? Corruption did not disappear. It evolved. Instead of bribing a person, criminals tried to hack systems. Hash asterisk 2056, 2060. The Great Education Shift. Schools changed. Traditional education struggled. AI tutors became normal. Personalized learning exploded. A child in a poor village could learn from an AI tutor, as well as a child in a rich city. This was one of the brightest developments, but it also created a new risk. If the AI tutor is controlled by ideology, education becomes propaganda. So education became a political battlefield. Hash asterisk 2061, 2070. The first AI crisis. This period is remembered for the first major global AI disaster. Not a robot apocalypse, something more realistic. A massive AI-driven financial manipulation caused market crashes, supply chain disruptions, unemployment spikes. The world realized AI was now too powerful to be treated like a normal tool. This led to stronger global AI regulation. Hash high voltage era 4. The Energy Revolution, 2070-2090. Hash the Power Age. Hash 2071, 2075. The Battery Breakthrough. A new battery technology changed everything. Electric planes became possible. Shipping became cleaner. Energy storage stabilized power grids. Deserts became solar farms powering nations. Countries with large sunny land gained influence. This reshaped geopolitics. Hash asterisk 2076, 2080. The end of oil dominance. Oil did not disappear, but it lost its throne. Nations that depended on oil revenue had to transform or decline. Some succeeded. Some collapsed. This was a repeat of history. When the main resource changes, empires change. Hash asterisk 2080, 2090. Fusion begins. Fusion energy became real in some nations. Not cheap at first, not everywhere, but real. Fusion ended the fear of energy scarcity for those who controlled it. And that created a new global division. Fusion nations versus non-fusion nations. Hash satellite era 5. The Space Industrial Era, 2090-2120. Hash the Second Frontier asterisk. Hash asterisk 2091, 2100. The Moon Economy. The moon became industrial. Not crowded like sci-fi cities, but full of mining sites, research stations, fuel depots, robotic factories. The moon's value was strategic. It became the gas station of space. **2100 2110. The First Space Treaty Crisis. Nations argued over mining rights, orbital lanes, satellite warfare. The first space blockade occurred. No bombs, just destroyed satellites and hacked systems. The world panicked because modern civilization depended on orbit. After this crisis, space was militarized officially. *2111 2120. Mars becomes permanent asterisk. Mars settlements became stable. Not huge, but permanent. People born on Mars became a reality. This created a philosophical shift. Humans were no longer only Earth people. #DNA Era 6. The Biological Revolution. 2120-2150. The Age of Designed Life, asterisk. #2121-2130. The Anti-Aging Divide. Life extension became real. Not immortality, but extended youth. The rich gained decades. The poor did not. This created the greatest inequality in history. Not money inequality, time inequality. A new class system formed. Long lifers, normal lifers. This caused protests, even rebellions, because nothing makes people angrier than watching others buy time. #2130 2140. The First Biowars asterisk. These were not massive global wars. They were conflicts involving engineered viruses, sabotage of medical supply chains, attacks on genetic labs. It forced humanity to create strict global biosecurity. The world became paranoid about biology, the way the 20th century was paranoid about nuclear weapons. #2140 2150. Human enhancement becomes normal asterisk. People began to enhance memory, vision, strength, immunity. This created a new identity crisis. What does it mean to be human? Religious movements reacted strongly. Some embraced enhancement. Some rejected it. This created cultural enhancement nations. #Cityscape Era 7. The City-State Return. 2150-2180. The Era of Megacities. #2151 2160. Nations lose power. Large nations began to weaken. Not all, but many. Because global trade was city-centered. Technology hubs were city-centered. Culture and finance were city-centered. Megacities began acting like independent states. They created their own security forces, their own economic rules, their own AI governance. The world entered a new feudalism. Not lords and peasants, but asterisk cities and neglected regions. Hash 2161, 2170, the city wars. Conflicts emerged between megacities and national governments. These were strange wars. Not trench wars, but cyber attacks, water control, economic sanctions, drone policing. Many nations restructured. Some became federations. Some collapsed. Some merged. Hash asterisk 2171, 2180, the Global Charter. After decades of instability, a new global political system formed. Not a world government, but a charter that regulated bioengineering, space mining, climate migration, water rights. It was not perfect, but it prevented total collapse. Hash Milky Way Era 8, the planetary civilization, 2180-2200. Hash the beginning of the true future. Hash asterisk 2180, 2190, the Earth stabilization. Humanity finally began to stabilize climate. Not fully, but enough. Large-scale carbon removal became normal. Cities became green. Deserts became energy hubs. Ocean projects restored ecosystems. This era was remembered as the Repair Age. Hash asterisk 2191, 2195, the first generation of post-humans. This is the moment historians mark as the beginning of a new species stage. People were born with enhancements. AI assistants were integrated into minds. Brain-computer interfaces became common. Some humans lived partly in virtual worlds. This was not dystopia, not utopia, just different. Hash asterisk 2196, 2200, the two civilizations. By 2200, humanity was split into two main ways of living. One Earth-based civilization, traditional culture, asterisk strong religion in some regions, human identity as natural. Two post-human civilization, asterisk enhanced humans, AI integration, space expansion, asterisk long lifespans. These two worlds did not hate each other, but they did not fully understand each other. And history teaches, when two cultures don't understand each other, conflict becomes likely. Hash the final note, 2200. By 2200, humans had not reached the end of history. There is no end. There is only rising, falling, rebuilding, changing. The same cycle that began with the first fire. The difference is, now the fire is inside machines, inside fusion, inside the stars. Hash 1, the world after Rome, a new kind of darkness. When the Western Roman Empire fell, the world did not end, but it changed its shape. For the people living in Western Europe, the fall of Rome felt like the sky had cracked. The great roads were still there, but they were no longer maintained. The aqueducts still stood, but water no longer flowed as reliably. The great cities shrank. Trade became dangerous. The Mediterranean, once a Roman lake, became a border, a boundary between worlds. In the West, the empire's old unity fractured into kingdoms. In the East, Byzantium survived, holding on to Roman law, Roman administration, and the memory of what had been. In the South and East, Islam rose, expanding into a civilization that would become one of the most advanced and influential forces on Earth. History entered a new era. Not a simple dark age, as people once claimed, but a complicated time of transformation. A time when old structures collapsed and new ones were born. #2, the kingdoms of the West, Franks, Saxons, and the New Europe. After Rome's fall, Western Europe became a patchwork. Different peoples formed different kingdoms. The Visigoths ruled parts of Spain. The Ostrogoths ruled Italy for a time. The Franks rose in what is now France and Germany. The Anglo-Saxons formed kingdoms in England. The Lombards held parts of Italy. These kingdoms were not as centralized as Rome. They were built on personal loyalty. A king was not a distant emperor. A king was a war leader, a man who fought, a man who rewarded his followers with land. And land became the key to power. #3, feudalism, the world of lords and vassals. In much of Europe, a system developed that historians later called feudalism. Feudalism was not one single law. It was a pattern, a way of organizing society. In a world where the central government was weak, people needed protection. And protection came from those who had warriors. A lord would offer protection to a vassal. In exchange, the vassal would offer loyalty and military service. Land was given in return for service. At the bottom of this system were peasants. Many peasants were serfs, bound to the land. They worked fields. They paid rent and crops. They lived hard lives. Feudalism created stability in a chaotic world. But it also created inequality that lasted centuries. #4, the Church, the strongest power in Europe. In this fractured Europe, one institution remained powerful: the Christian Church. The Church had organization. The Church had educated clergy. The Church had moral authority. The Church had wealth. The Church had land. And the Church had something kings desperately needed: legitimacy. If a king was crowned by the Church, he seemed chosen by God. If the Church condemned a king, his rule could weaken. The Church became a political force. Popes argued with emperors. Bishops controlled cities. Monasteries preserved books. Monks copied texts. The Church became Europe's memory. #5, Charlemagne, the man who tried to rebuild Rome. One of the most famous kings of the early medieval period was Charlemagne. He was the ruler of the Franks. He conquered much of Western Europe. He fought Saxons. He expanded into Italy. He created a large empire. In the year 800, the Pope crowned him emperor. This was symbolic. It was the church saying, "A new Rome has been born." Charlemagne's empire did not last long after his death. It broke apart, but his legacy remained. He became a symbol of European unity, a dream that would return again and again. #6 Vikings, the storm from the north. While kings and popes built kingdoms, another force shook Europe. The Vikings. Vikings were Scandinavian warriors, traders, and explorers. They raided monasteries. They attacked coastal towns. They sailed rivers deep into Europe. They were feared, but they were not just destroyers. They were also settlers. They founded towns. They traded goods. They explored far. They reached Iceland. They reached Greenland. They even reached North America, centuries before Columbus. Vikings reshaped Europe. They forced kingdoms to strengthen defenses. They created new political structures. They became part of European society. #7 The Islamic Golden Age, a world of knowledge. While Europe struggled through political fragmentation, the Islamic world was flourishing. Islamic civilization stretched from Spain to Central Asia. Cities like Baghdad, Cordoba, Cairo, and Damascus became centers of learning. Muslim scholars translated Greek texts. They preserved philosophy. They advanced medicine. They developed algebra. They improved astronomy. They refined chemistry. They built hospitals. They created libraries. This was not a small cultural moment. It was one of the greatest intellectual eras in human history. And it would later influence Europe deeply. #8 Byzantium, the Eastern Shield. The Byzantine Empire remained powerful for centuries. Its capital, Constantinople, was the greatest city in Europe for a long time. It was wealthy. It was protected by massive walls. It controlled trade between Europe and Asia. Byzantium fought Persians. It fought Arabs. It fought Slavs. It fought Bulgars. It fought Crusaders. It survived through diplomacy and strategy. But it slowly weakened over time. And its weakening would open the door to new power. #9 The Crusades, Holy War and Human Hunger. In the late 11th century, the Church called for war. The goal was to reclaim Jerusalem. The Crusades began. Crusaders marched east. They fought Muslims. They captured Jerusalem. They created Crusader states. The Crusades were religious wars, but they were also political wars and economic wars. Many knights went for land. Many went for wealth. Many went for glory. The Crusades caused enormous suffering. massacres, starvation, betrayals. But they also created contact between cultures. Europeans encountered advanced Islamic cities. They encountered new goods, new knowledge, new ideas. Trade increased. Europe began a change. #10 The Mongols, the horsemen who shook the earth. Then came one of the most terrifying forces in history. The Mongols. From the steppes of Central Asia, a man named Temujin rose. He became known as Genghis Khan. He united Mongol tribes. He created an army of incredible discipline. The Mongols conquered rapidly. They conquered China. They conquered Persia. They conquered Central Asia. They invaded Russia. They threatened Europe. The Mongols created the largest land empire in history. Their warfare was brutal. Cities that resisted were destroyed. Populations were slaughtered. But the Mongol Empire also created stability across Eurasia. It reopened trade routes. It allowed merchants to travel safely. It connected East and West. It made the Silk Road flourish again. #11 The Black Death, when death became king. In the 14th century, disaster struck. The Black Death spread across Eurasia. It killed millions. In Europe, it may have killed a third of the population. Cities became graveyards. Villages vanished. Families collapsed. Fear spread. The Black Death was not just a medical disaster. It was a social revolution. Because when so many people die, labor becomes valuable. Peasants demanded higher wages. Feudalism weakened. The old order began to crack. And from this crack, new worlds emerged. #12 The Renaissance, the rebirth of art and thought. In Italy, cities like Florence, Venice, and Rome became wealthy through trade. Wealth funded art. Artists studied classical Greek and Roman works. They painted humans realistically. They sculpted with precision. They explored perspective. The Renaissance began. It was not just art. It was a new way of thinking. Humanism grew. People focused on human potential. Science advanced. Curiosity expanded. Europe began to look outward. And outward meant oceans. #13 The Age of Exploration. The ocean becomes a road. European nations began to explore. Portugal sailed down Africa's coast. Spain crossed the Atlantic. In 1492, Christopher Columbus reached the Americas. This was one of the most world-changing events in history, because it connected two worlds that had been separated for thousands of years. Soon, Europeans colonized the Americas. They conquered empires like the Aztecs and the Inca. They brought disease. Smallpox killed millions of indigenous people. They extracted gold and silver. They created plantations. They brought enslaved Africans to work. The Atlantic slave trade began. This was one of the darkest chapters in human history. Hush 14, the Columbian Exchange, a global transformation. The exchange between the Old World and the New World changed everything. From the Americas to Europe, Africa, and Asia came potatoes, tomatoes, corn, chocolate, tobacco. From the Old World to the Americas came horses, cattle, wheat, sugar, diseases. This exchange transformed diets. It transformed economies. It transformed populations. The modern world began to form. Hush 15, the Reformation. Christianity splits. In the 16th century, a German monk named Martin Luther challenged the church. He criticized corruption. He argued that salvation came through faith, not through buying forgiveness. His ideas spread quickly. The Protestant Reformation began. Europe split. Catholics and Protestants fought wars. Kings used religion as a political weapon. The church lost its monopoly. This reshaped Europe's politics forever. Hush 16, the Scientific Revolution. The universe changes. During this time, science advanced rapidly. Copernicus proposed the Earth revolved around the sun. Galileo used a telescope to observe the heavens. Newton described gravity and motion. Science changed the way people understood the universe. The world became less magical in explanation, but more awe-inspiring in reality. Knowledge became power, and power became industrial. Hush 17, the Enlightenment, the idea that people matter. In the 17th and 18th centuries, thinkers questioned monarchy, tradition, and authority. They argued for reason, for rights, for liberty, for equality. These ideas were dangerous. Because if people have rights, kings have limits. The Enlightenment inspired revolutions. Hush 18, revolutions. France, America, and the birth of modern politics. In America, colonies rebelled against Britain. They declared independence. They formed a republic. In France, revolution exploded. The monarchy was overthrown. The king was executed. The revolution became violent. Napoleon rose. Napoleon conquered much of Europe. He spread revolutionary ideas. He also created empire. The world learned something new. Revolution could remake society. Hush 19, the Industrial Revolution. Machines replace muscles. Then came the Industrial Revolution. It began in Britain. Factories rose. Steam engines powered machines. Textile production increased. Coal became fuel. Railways connected cities. Industry transformed society. People moved to cities. Work became wage labor. Child labor existed. Pollution increased. But wealth grew. Technology advanced. The modern economy was born. Hush 20, imperialism. The world divided by empires again. European nations expanded overseas. They colonized Africa. They colonized Asia. They carved borders. They extracted resources. They built railways, but for exploitation. Imperialism reshaped the world. It created wealth for some nations. It created suffering for others. And it planted the seeds of future conflict. Hesh 21, World War I, the war that broke the old world. In 1914, Europe plunged into war. Alliances pulled nations into conflict. Trenches formed. Machine guns killed thousands. Gas weapons poisoned soldiers. Millions died. World War I ended old empires. The Ottoman Empire collapsed. The Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed. The Russian Empire collapsed. Germany was defeated. The world was exhausted. But peace was fragile. Hesh 22, World War II, the war that remade everything. After World War I, economic crisis and political extremism rose. In Germany, Adolf Hitler came to power. In Italy, Mussolini ruled. In Japan, militarism expanded. World War II began. It was even more destructive than World War I. The Holocaust murdered millions. Cities were bombed. The atomic bomb was used. The war ended in 1945. And the world changed again. Hesh 23, the Cold War, a world split in two. After World War II, two superpowers emerged. The United States, the Soviet Union. They competed globally. Not always through direct war, but through proxy conflicts. Nuclear weapons created fear. Space exploration became a race. The Cold War shaped politics for decades. Hesh 24, decolonization. Empires collapse again. After World War II, many colonies gained independence. India became independent from Britain. African nations gained freedom. The Middle East changed. New nations formed. But borders were often artificial. Conflicts erupted. The legacy of imperialism remained. Hesh 25, the digital age, the new revolution. In the late 20th century, technology changed everything again. Computers became common. The internet connected the world. Information moved instantly. Globalization expanded. The world became more connected than ever. This is where we now live. In a world of machines, networks, and digital empires. Hesh 26, the ending of the giant story. So here we are. From the first spark of fire, to farming, to cities, to writing, to kings, to empires, to religions, to revolutions, to machines, to the digital age. History is not finished. We are still inside it. And one day, people will look back at our era the way we look back at Rome, or Egypt, or the first farmers who planted wheat. They will ask, what did they believe? What did they fear? What did they build? And what did they destroy? The first quiet sparks. Before there were kingdoms, before there were flags, before anyone carved laws into stone or built walls that could be seen from miles away, the world belonged to silence. Hash. Not a complete silence, because the earth is never truly quiet. The wind still moved, rivers still ran, rain still fell, trees still creaked, wolves still called out to one another in the night. But it was a silence without cities. It was a silence without armies. It was a silence without crowns. Human beings existed, yes, but they were scattered. Small groups, families, tribes. They moved like shadows across the landscapes of Africa, then across the lands beyond, following the paths of animals, following seasons, following the invisible logic of survival. In those days, history was not written. It was breathed. It was carried in the memory of elders, in the scars on skin, in the marks of teeth and claws, in the shape of a spearhead, in the way a campfire looked from far away at night. And it began, like so many enormous things begin, with something tiny. A spark. The first fire was not a human invention. Fire existed long before humans. Lightning struck trees. Volcanoes spilled burning stone. Dry grasslands caught flame under the sun and wind. But at some point, so long ago that even imagination struggles to hold it, human beings learned to take fire and keep it, to carry it, to protect it, to feed it, to own it. That moment was one of the greatest turning points in all of history. Because fire did more than cook meat. Fire changed time. Fire changed the night. Fire changed fear. Fire made darkness less powerful. Fire allowed people to gather together after sunset. It gave warmth in cold seasons. It hardened wooden spears. It kept predators away. It made food safer. It made life longer. And when life becomes longer, and safer, and warmer, something happens inside the human mind. It begins to plan. Hash 2, the age of hunters and moving worlds. For thousands upon thousands of years, humans lived as hunters and gatherers. They did not farm. They did not build permanent houses. They did not create nations. They moved. They followed. They survived. The world was a map of opportunity. A river meant fish. A forest meant fruit and small animals. A valley meant shelter. A mountain meant danger, but also vantage. People learned the roots of herds. They learned which plants healed and which killed. They learned how to read the sky. They learned how to track footsteps in mud. They learned how to work together, because no human alone could defeat a large animal. Hunting was not just violence, it was teamwork, strategy, patience, timing. And this was where one of the most powerful human abilities grew strong. Communication. Early humans used sound, gesture, facial expression. Then language grew slowly, like a tree growing over centuries. Words made humans different. Because words allow knowledge to survive longer than one lifetime. A father could teach a son how to shape stone into a sharp blade. A mother could teach a daughter which berries were safe. A group could tell stories about dangerous places. And in time, these stories became more than survival lessons. They became meaning. #3, the first stories, gods before kingdoms. Before writing, before laws, before money, human beings already had religion. Not organized religion with temples and priesthoods, at least not at first, but spiritual belief. The world was mysterious. The sun rose and fell. Storms came suddenly. People died. Children were born. Animals vanished. Seasons changed. Humans looked at this and asked the same questions we still ask. Why? What controls this? Who made this? And so the earliest gods were born. They were not always gods with names. Sometimes they were spirits in trees, spirits in rivers, spirits in the sky, spirits in animals. The hunter might pray to the spirit of the deer. The mother might pray to the spirit of the river. The tribe might fear the spirit of the storm. These beliefs shaped behavior. They shaped community. They shaped identity. Because when a group shares a belief, they become more than individuals. They become a people. #4, the slow revolution. Farming begins. Then something happened that changed everything. It was not a war. It was not a hero. It was not a king. It was not a miracle. It was an idea, an observation, a discovery. Somewhere, likely in multiple places across the world, humans noticed that plants grew from seeds. They noticed that if they dropped seeds near their camps, plants appeared later. They noticed that if they stayed in one place long enough, they could harvest more food than if they wandered. This was the beginning of farming. And farming was a revolution. Because farming does one thing better than hunting and gathering. It produces surplus. Surplus means extra. Extra food means people don't have to spend every day searching for food. Extra food means some people can do other things. And once people can do other things, civilization begins. #5, the Fertile Crescent, the first great homeland. One of the earliest places where farming took root was a region historians later called the Fertile Crescent. This region included parts of modern-day Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, and Turkey. It was called fertile because the land was rich. Rivers flowed through it. The soil was good. Rainfall and seasonal floods created ideal conditions for early agriculture. In this region, humans began to domesticate wheat, barley, lentils, peas. They also began to domesticate animals. Goats, sheep, cattle, dogs. Farming changed the human relationship with nature. Instead of following nature, humans began to control it. Instead of being guests on the earth, humans began to become managers. And management led to ownership. Ownership led to conflict. Conflict led to walls. Walls led to cities. #6, the first towns, when people stopped moving. As farming grew, people built permanent settlements. At first, These were small villages, houses made of mud brick, simple storage pits for grain, fireplaces, animal pens. And then, over time, villages grew larger. Some of the earliest known towns include places like Jericho. Jericho had walls. Walls meant fear of attack. Walls meant value inside. Walls meant organization. Walls meant leadership. Because building walls is not a random act. It requires planning. It requires labor. It requires a leader or a council. And so the earliest political structures were born. Not kings yet, but chiefs, elders, decision makers. #7, the birth of social classes. In a hunter-gatherer tribe, people are usually more equal. Yes, there are leaders. Yes, there are skilled hunters. But there is less permanent inequality because wealth is hard to store. If you move constantly, you cannot carry huge amounts of property. But in farming settlements, wealth becomes storable. Grain can be stored. Animals can be owned. Land can be claimed. And when land can be claimed, some people begin to own more than others. This is the birth of social classes. Some families become wealthy. Some become poor. Some become powerful. Some become servants. And soon, roles appear. Farmers, potters, weavers, builders, warriors, priests. #8, the rise of religion, temples and priests. As towns grew, religion became organized. Instead of small personal rituals, people built temples. Temples were more than spiritual buildings. They were centers of power. Temples stored grain. Temples managed labor. Temples held festivals. Temples gave people identity. Priests became important because priests claimed they could speak to the gods. And when people believe someone speaks to the gods, they obey. Religion became the first great political tool. #9, the invention of writing, the greatest weapon. Then came one of the most important inventions in all human history. Writing. Writing began not as poetry, not as storytelling. Writing began as accounting, as record keeping. Because when a city stores grain, someone must track it. How much wheat was harvested? Who owns which animals? How many workers are assigned to the temple? Who owes taxes? At first, people used tokens, then marks on clay, then symbols, then full writing systems. In Mesopotamia, writing became cuneiform **, wedge-shaped marks pressed into clay tablets. In Egypt, writing became hieroglyphs **, beautiful symbols carved and painted. Writing allowed something that changed civilization forever. The state could remember. #10, Mesopotamia, the land between rivers. The earliest true civilization arose in Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia means the land between rivers. The rivers were the Tigris and the Euphrates. The land was rich, but also dangerous. Floods could be destructive. Drought could kill crops. So people had to build irrigation systems, canals, ditches, reservoirs. This required large-scale cooperation. And cooperation required government. And government required law. #11 Sumer, the first cities. In southern Mesopotamia, a culture called the Sumerians built the first true cities. Cities like Uruk, Ur, Lagish, Eridu. Each city was its own world. Each had walls. Each had temples. Each had a ruler. At first, rulers were not called kings. They were more like temple managers. But over time, power became personal, and kings were born. Sumerian kings claimed they were chosen by the gods. They wore crowns. They led armies. They built monuments. They demanded taxes. And the city-state system created constant rivalry. Because when one city grows wealthy, another city grows jealous. #12 The First Wars, when cities learned violence. War existed before civilization. Tribes fought over hunting grounds. Groups raided one another. But civilization made war bigger. Because cities had resources worth stealing. Grain, animals, metal, slaves. And cities had populations large enough to form armies. War became organized. Weapons improved. Spears became sharper. Shields became stronger. And eventually, bronze was discovered. Bronze was made by combining copper and tin. Bronze weapons were stronger than stone. Bronze changed war. And war changed politics. Because the best warrior could become king. #13 The Epic of Gilgamesh, the first great hero story. One of the most famous early stories from Mesopotamia is the Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was a king of Uruk. The story describes him as powerful, arrogant, and almost divine. He fights monsters. He makes friends. He seeks immortality. And he fails. Because the epic ends with a lesson. Even kings die. Even heroes die. Only the city remains. This story is one of the earliest written works of literature in the world. And it reveals something important about early civilization. People were already thinking deeply about life, death, meaning, and legacy. #14 Egypt, the gift of the Nile. While Mesopotamia grew between two unpredictable rivers, another civilization rose along one great river. The Nile. Egypt was shaped entirely by the Nile. The Nile flooded regularly. It brought fertile soil. It created predictable agriculture. This stability allowed Egypt to unify into one kingdom. And unlike Mesopotamia, Egypt became centralized. One pharaoh, one state, one identity. The pharaoh was not just a king. The pharaoh was a god on earth. This made Egypt one of the most powerful and stable civilizations in ancient history. Hash 15, the pyramids, stone and eternal power. Egyptian rulers built monuments unlike anything the world had seen. The pyramids were not just tombs. They were statements. They said, "Our kings are eternal. Our gods are real. Our power is beyond death." Building pyramids required massive labor. Thousands of workers, engineers, stone cutters, transport systems, food supply, organization. This shows that Egypt had a strong state, a state that could command resources, a state that could control people. And control is the true foundation of empire. Hash 16, the Indus Valley, the silent civilization. While Mesopotamia and Egypt were building their cities, another civilization was rising far to the east. The Indus Valley civilization. It flourished in what is now Pakistan and northwest India. Cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. These cities were planned. They had grid streets, drainage systems, public baths, standardized weights. This suggests advanced administration. Yet the Indus script remains undeciphered. We cannot read their writing. So they remain one of the most mysterious civilizations. They were powerful. They were organized. And then they declined. Why? Possibly climate change. Possibly river shifts. Possibly invasion. We do not fully know. And that uncertainty is part of the haunting beauty of history. Hash 17, ancient China. Rivers, dynasties, and heaven. In East Asia, civilization grew along the Yellow River. Early Chinese civilization developed agriculture, cities, bronze technology, and kingship. One of the most important Chinese ideas was the mandate of heaven. This idea said, a king rules because heaven allows it. If the king is good, heaven supports him. If the king is evil, heaven withdraws support. Disasters, famine, rebellion, these were signs that heaven had rejected the ruler. This idea became the foundation of Chinese political culture for thousands of years. Hash 18, the Bronze Age world, trade and connection. By the time these early civilizations were rising, the world was becoming connected. Trade routes formed. Merchants traveled. Goods moved across long distances. Copper, tin, gold, ivory, spices, cloth. Ideas also traveled. Writing systems, religious beliefs, technologies, even diseases. Civilization was not isolated. It was a growing web. And in this web, power grew. Hash 19, the first empires. Akkad and the dream of unity. City-states were powerful, but limited. A city-state could control its own land, but not much more. Then came the idea of empire. An empire is a state that rules many different peoples, many different cities, many different languages. One of the earliest empires was built by Sargon of Akkad. Sargon conquered the Sumerian cities. He united them under one rule. He created an empire. And this changed history. Because once people see empire as possible, they chase it. #20 Law, the Code of Hammurabi. Empires and cities required laws. Because as populations grow, conflict grows. People argue over land, over theft, over marriage, over debt, over violence. One of the most famous ancient law codes was created by Hammurabi of Babylon. His code was carved into stone. It contained laws and punishments. Some were harsh. Some were detailed. It introduced the idea that the state controls justice, not just personal revenge, not just tribal feud. This was a major step toward organized society. #21, the collapse and rebirth cycle. History is not a straight line upward. Civilizations rise. They grow. They expand. Then they weaken. Then they collapse. Then new civilizations rise. This cycle happened again and again. Drought could destroy agriculture. Invasion could destroy cities. Internal rebellion could break states apart. The Bronze Age world saw collapses. But from collapse, new powers emerged. And in the ruins, the seeds of future empires were planted. #22, the Sea Peoples and the End of an Age. Around 1200 BCE, many Bronze Age civilizations faced crisis. Cities burned. Trade collapsed. Empires weakened. In the Eastern Mediterranean, mysterious invaders known as the Sea Peoples attacked coastal cities. Egypt fought them. Hittite cities fell. Mycenaean Greece declined. The Bronze Age ended, and the Iron Age began. Iron was harder to work with than bronze, but more common. Iron weapons became widespread. This changed warfare. It changed society. And it made power available to more groups. #23, the Hittites and the Secrets of Iron. The Hittites were one of the early powers of Anatolia, modern Turkey. They developed strong military systems. They used chariots. They were among the early adopters of iron technology. Their empire rose and fell, but their innovations spread. This is a key theme in history. Even when empires die, their ideas live. #24, the Phoenicians, masters of the sea. After the Bronze Age collapse, new trade networks emerged. One of the most important groups were the Phoenicians. They were sailors and merchants. They built ships. They founded colonies. They traded across the Mediterranean. They also created one of the most influential inventions, a simplified alphabet. This alphabet influenced Greek writing. Greek writing influenced Latin. Latin influenced many modern alphabets. So in a way, When you write today, you are using a descendant of Phoenician letters. Hash 25, the Israelites and the power of one God. In the ancient Near East, most cultures worshipped many gods. But one small group developed a powerful idea: monotheism. The Israelites believed in one God. This belief shaped their identity. It shaped their laws. It shaped their history. Their stories, recorded in sacred texts, became deeply influential in later world history. Hash 26, the Assyrians, the empire of fear. In Mesopotamia, a powerful empire rose. Assyria. The Assyrians were famous for military strength. They built large armies. They used iron weapons. They created siege engines. They conquered many peoples. They ruled with fear. They used terror as a tool. They deported populations. They destroyed rebellious cities. But they also built roads. They created administration. They collected knowledge. They built libraries. One of the greatest ancient libraries belonged to Ashurbanipal. In his library, thousands of clay tablets were stored, including the Epic of Gilgamesh. So even the Empire of Fear became an empire of preservation. Hash 27, Persia, the Empire of Tolerance. Assyria eventually fell. And from the east, a new power rose. Persia. The Persian Empire became one of the greatest in the ancient world. Persian rulers like Cyrus the Great conquered vast lands. But they ruled differently. Instead of destroying cultures, they often respected them. They allowed local religions. They allowed local customs. They created a system of provinces. They built roads. They used messengers. They made empire efficient. This is another major lesson of history. Empires can be built by terror, or by organization, or by both. Hash 28, the Greeks, city-states, philosophy, and war. While empires rose in the East, the Greeks developed their own civilization. Greece was not one unified kingdom. It was a land of city-states. Athens, Sparta, Corinth. The Greeks developed new ideas. Democracy in Athens. Philosophy. Theater. Science. They also fought constantly. They fought Persia. They fought each other. But from their struggle came cultural achievements that influenced the world forever. Hash 29, Rome, from village to world power. In Italy, a small city began to grow. Rome. At first, Rome was a kingdom. Then it became a republic. Then it became an empire. Rome expanded through war, diplomacy, and strategy. Rome built roads. Rome built laws. Rome built armies that could conquer and hold territory. Rome became one of the most powerful empires in history. And yet, like all empires, it would eventually decline. Hash 30, the quiet ending of Part 1. This is where Part 1 ends. We have traveled from Fire, right farming, right villages, right cities, right writing, right laws, right empires. By the time the early civilizations had matured, the world was no longer a scattered collection of villages and small city-states. It had become something larger, something heavier, something more dangerous, something more connected. A person living in a Roman city might drink wine grown in Spain, carried by ship across the Mediterranean, poured into a cup made by a craftsman in Italy. A merchant in Persia might wear cloth made in India, while using coins minted under the authority of a king whose armies marched across multiple languages and cultures. A scholar in China might hear rumors of strange people far to the west, with different eyes and strange armor, even if he never met them. For the first time in human history, civilization became a web, and empires were the spiders at the center. #2, Rome before it was Rome. Rome did not begin as a giant empire. It began as a small settlement on the banks of the Tiber River. It began with farmers, with huts, with herds, with mud and dust. Its early kings were not world conquerors. They were local rulers. But Rome had something special from the start: its location. Rome was protected by hills. It was near the sea, but not too close. It sat in the center of Italy, making it a natural crossroads. And perhaps more importantly, Rome's people were shaped by constant struggle. They fought neighbors. They defended their land. They learned discipline. And discipline is the foundation of empire. #3, the Roman Republic, a strange experiment. Rome eventually overthrew its kings and created something unusual: a republic. In a republic, power is not held by one king. Instead, it is shared among institutions. In Rome, these institutions included the Senate, powerful elite families; elected magistrates, like consuls; popular assemblies, citizens voting. But Rome's republic was not modern democracy. It was deeply unequal. Only citizens had rights. Women were excluded from politics. Slaves had no rights. Foreigners were outsiders. Yet the Republic created a system where political competition existed. And political competition created ambition. And ambition created expansion. #4, Rome expands. Italy becomes Roman. Rome first conquered its neighbors. Then it conquered the entire Italian peninsula. This process took centuries. Rome fought tribes. Rome fought city-states. Rome fought other Latin groups. Rome fought the Samnites. Rome fought Greek colonies in southern Italy. Rome won because Rome was stubborn. Rome did not give up. Rome lost battles and returned. Rome rebuilt armies. Rome punished traitors. Rome rewarded loyalty. Rome also did something genius. It offered citizenship to some conquered peoples. This created a system where conquered people could become Roman. And if they could become Roman, they were less likely to rebel. This was one of Rome's greatest strengths. #5 Carthage, the rival that almost killed Rome. As Rome grew, it encountered a powerful rival. Carthage. Carthage was a wealthy city in North Africa. It was founded by Phoenician settlers. Carthage was a sea power. Its wealth came from trade. Its ships moved across the Mediterranean. Rome was a land power. Its strength came from armies. Its wealth came from conquest and agriculture. These two powers were destined to clash. And they did. In a series of wars called the Punic Wars. #6 Hannibal, the nightmare of Rome. The most famous figure of the Punic Wars was Hannibal Barca. Hannibal was a Carthaginian general. He did something almost impossible. He marched an army from Spain across the Alps into Italy. He brought elephants. He brought soldiers. He brought terror. The Romans were shocked. Hannibal defeated Rome again and again. The Battle of Cannae was one of the greatest military victories in history. Rome lost tens of thousands of soldiers. It was almost destroyed. But Rome did not surrender. Rome refused. Rome raised new armies. Rome avoided direct battle. Rome attacked Carthage's resources. Eventually, Rome won, and Carthage was destroyed. The city was burned. Its people were killed or enslaved. Its land became Roman. Rome had eliminated its greatest rival. And now the Mediterranean was Rome's lake. #7 Rome becomes an empire without a crown. After defeating Carthage, Rome expanded rapidly. It conquered Greece. It conquered parts of Asia Minor. It conquered North Africa. It conquered Spain. It pushed into Gaul, France. It invaded Britain. Rome now ruled a vast territory. But here is the strange thing. Rome still called itself a republic. It did not have a king. It did not officially have an emperor. But power was shifting. Because a republic can rule a city. But a republic struggles to rule an empire. #8 Wealth, slavery, and the rot inside Rome. Conquest brought Rome wealth. It also brought slaves. Millions of slaves. Slaves worked farms. Slaves worked mines. Slaves worked households. Slaves built roads. Slaves became the engine of Rome's economy. But slavery created inequality. Roman elites became extremely rich. Small farmers were ruined. They lost land. They moved to cities. Rome became crowded. Unemployment grew. Crime grew. Political violence grew. The Republic began to break from within. #9 Julius Caesar, the man who crossed the line. In this chaos, ambitious generals rose. One of them became legendary. Julius Caesar. Caesar was brilliant. He was charismatic. He was ruthless. He conquered Gaul. He became loved by his soldiers. He became feared by the Senate. Eventually, Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with his army. This was illegal. It was an act of rebellion. But Caesar did it anyway. And this act became a symbol. Once a leader uses the army against the state changes forever. Caesar won civil war. He became dictator. He was assassinated by senators who claimed they were saving the Republic. But the Republic was already dead. #10 Augustus, the first emperor. After Caesar's death, more civil war followed. Eventually, Caesar's adopted heir, Octavian, emerged victorious. He became Augustus. Augustus did not call himself king. He did not call himself dictator. He called himself Princeps ***, first citizen. But he was emperor. He controlled the army. He controlled money. He controlled politics. Rome had become an empire, and it entered a period of stability called Pax Romana **, Roman peace. #11 Pax Romana, the greatest machine in the ancient world. For about 2 centuries, Rome was stable. This does not mean it was peaceful everywhere. Rome still fought wars. Rome still crushed rebellions. Rome still expanded. But the empire was stable internally. This stability allowed trade to flourish, cities to grow, roads to connect regions, culture to spread. Rome built infrastructure like no civilization before. Roads that lasted centuries, aqueducts that brought water, bridges, ports, bathhouses, amphitheaters. Rome became a machine, and the emperor was the operator. #12 Rome's hidden weakness, too big to hold forever. Rome's empire was enormous. It stretched from Britain to Egypt, from Spain to Syria. It contained many languages, many religions, many cultures. To hold it together required constant effort. The army was expensive. Borders were long. Enemies were many. And when leadership weakened, problems multiplied. Rome was strong, but it was not immortal. #13 Persia returns, the Parthians and the Sassanids. While Rome ruled the Mediterranean, Persia remained powerful. After the old Persian Empire fell to Alexander the Great, new Persian dynasties rose. The Parthians were one of Rome's great rivals. They were skilled horse archers. They could strike fast and vanish. Rome struggled against them. Later, the Sassanid Empire rose in Persia. The Sassanids were strong, organized, and ambitious. They fought Rome repeatedly. The Roman-Persian rivalry lasted centuries. It was one of the longest and most important rivalries in world history. #14 India, Murrah Ashoka and the spread of Buddhism. In India, empires also rose. One of the greatest was the Murrah Empire. Its most famous ruler was Ashoka. Ashoka began as a conqueror. He expanded his empire through war. But after witnessing the suffering caused by one of his wars, he changed. He embraced Buddhism. He promoted peace. He sent missionaries. He built pillars and inscriptions. Ashoka became one of the most remarkable rulers in ancient history. Under him, Buddhism spread across Asia. This was a cultural transformation, not just political. Hush 15 China, the Qin, the Han, and the Mandate of Heaven. China's early history was shaped by cycles of unity and division. The Qin dynasty unified China. Its first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, created a centralized state. He standardized writing, coins, weights, laws. He built massive projects, including early sections of the Great Wall. But his rule was harsh. His dynasty collapsed quickly. Then came the Han dynasty. The Han created a stable empire that lasted centuries. The Han developed bureaucracy. They used Confucianism as a guiding philosophy. They expanded trade routes. And under the Han, China became one of the greatest civilizations in the world. Hesh 16, the Silk Road, the artery of the ancient world. The Silk Road was not one road. It was a network of routes. Caravans traveled across deserts and mountains. Goods moved from China to Central Asia, to Persia to Rome. Silk, spices, jade, glass, gold, horses. Ideas also traveled. Religions, technologies, art styles. The Silk Road connected East and West. It made the world smaller, and it made empires dependent on trade. Hush 17, religion changes everything. Christianity appears. In the Roman Empire, many religions existed. Roman gods, Greek gods, Egyptian gods, mystery cults, local deities. But in the province of Judah, a new movement began. A man named Jesus preached. He spoke of love, forgiveness, and the kingdom of God. He was executed by Roman authorities. But his followers believed he rose from the dead. They spread his message. At first, Christianity was small. It was persecuted. But it grew because it offered something powerful. Hope for the poor, meaning for the suffering, equality before God. And in a world filled with slavery, inequality, and violence, this message spread like fire. Hesh 18, Rome and Christianity, from persecution to empire religion. For centuries, Roman emperors persecuted Christians. Christians refused to worship the emperor as divine. They refused to sacrifice to Roman gods. This was seen as rebellion. But Christianity grew anyway. Then, in the 4th century CE, Emperor Constantine converted. He legalized Christianity. Later, Christianity became the official religion of the empire. This was one of the greatest transformations in world history. Rome, once the empire of many gods, became an empire of one god. And this would shape Europe for the next 1500 years. Hesh 19, the decline of Rome, the slow cracking of the giant. Rome's decline was not one event. It was a process, a slow cracking. Several factors weakened Rome. Economic problems, inflation, corruption, political instability, civil wars, border pressures, over-reliance on mercenaries. The empire became harder to govern. Emperors rose and fell quickly. Armies declared their own leaders. The state became unstable. Hesh 20, the barbarians. Rome's neighbors become Rome's storm. The word barbarian was used by Romans to describe non-Roman peoples. Many barbarian groups lived near Rome's borders. They traded with Rome. They fought Rome. They served as mercenaries. Over time, pressure increased. One major cause was the Huns. The Huns were nomadic warriors from Central Asia. Their arrival pushed Germanic tribes westward. These tribes sought refuge inside the Roman Empire. Rome sometimes allowed them in, sometimes fought them, but the movement was unstoppable. Hesh 21, the fall of the Western Roman Empire. In 476 CE, the Western Roman Empire officially ended. A Germanic leader deposed the last emperor. Rome itself had already been weakened. The Western Empire fractured into kingdoms. Visigoths, Ostrogoths, Franks, Vandals, Anglo-Saxons. But the Eastern Roman Empire survived. It became known as the Byzantine Empire. Hesh 22, Byzantium, Rome's second life. The Byzantine Empire was Roman in law and government, but Greek in language and culture. Its capital was Constantinople. It was wealthy. It was strategic. It had strong walls. It preserved Roman knowledge. It preserved Greek philosophy. It became a bridge between East and West. The Byzantine Empire would last nearly 1,000 years after the fall of Rome. Hesh 23, a new power in Arabia, the rise of Islam. In the 7th century CE, a new religion appeared in Arabia. Islam. The Prophet Muhammad preached monotheism. He united tribes. After his death, Muslim armies expanded rapidly. They conquered Persia, Syria, Egypt, North Africa, Spain. This expansion created a new civilization. The Islamic world preserved ancient knowledge. It advanced mathematics, medicine, astronomy, philosophy. It became a major center of learning. Islam became one of the most important forces in world history. Hesh 24, the world changes shape. By the end of this era, the world had transformed. Rome had fallen in the west. Byzantium held the east. Persia had been conquered. Islam had risen. China continued its dynastic cycles. India developed new kingdoms. Trade routes shifted. Religion spread. The classical age ended. The medieval world began. Hesh 25, the ending of Part 2. So Part 2 ends here, at the moment when the old world has cracked open and new civilizations are rising. We have seen Rome rise and fall, Persia's long rivalry, India's spiritual transformation, China's imperial system, the Silk Road connecting continents, Christianity reshaping Europe, Islam reshaping the Middle East and beyond.